Let's turn to Tom Fitton. Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch President, who was in the room when Kash Patel was sworn in to testify to become the new FBI director. Cut 40 here. It was kind of a fun mic drop moment. Let's take a quick listen.
The rest of the interview. This is why snippets of information are often misleading and detrimental to this committee's advice and consent process.
If you consent, I would love to have 5 hours of questions, and then I could read the whole transcript.
You've got 2 minutes.
Wow.
Kash Patel in beast mode, letting Senator Klobuchar know exactly how much time she had. Tom Fitton, what did you make of Kash Patel? He was a man in command. He knew his facts. He presented himself well, but he also wasn't taking any crap, which is kind of what you want from an FBI director, I think.
You do, and the challenge for the Democrats at this confirmation hearing is they were running arguments that have already been litigated in the public during the elections, which is January 6th, and pretending that President Trump can't be trusted with the presidency because he wants justice and accountability for the abuses targeted at him. Now, they couldn't really go as much into that as they would like, but they kind of had to go through the motions in making noise about Kash Patel. And I tell you, when you look at these confirmation hearings, I just want to tell you, listeners, they're all bunk. The whole process is corrupted. They shouldn't even really be taking place since they don't provide any useful information to the senators or the public in a way that advances the Senate's advise and consent function. Look at what happened to Matt Gaetz. He was a nominee for 3 minutes. He figured out he didn't have the votes, and it was over. That's the way it should be going on with much of these appointees and nominees by a president. Mm-hmm. They get 3 minutes, practically speaking, and I don't mean literally 3 minutes. You know what I mean for the leftists doing fact checking. And let's move on. I mean, what is it we need to know about Kash Patel that requires weeks and weeks of his political opponents combing through his background so they have a talking point on TV? It's a waste.
Yeah. What's interesting?
And I'm angry because I had to sit. Hold on, Patrice. I'm angry because I had to sit through it for 7 hours.
At least the chairs are soft in the hearing room, right,
yeah,
Tom?
Well,
I mean, yeah, I get you. So interestingly, this morning, Politico's headline is Kash Patel's hearing expected to produce fireworks and was mostly a dud. And they picked up on what you mentioned, which is the Democrats talking about this weird J6 choir thing. But it seems
five senators asked about the J6 choir.
Ridiculous for people who don't even know. I mean, go back and look at it yourself. But they did mention, this story talked about one line of questioning, which was really aimed at getting support from Tom Tillis, which was which was like a break with President Trump, whether the J6 people who've been charged should have been pardoned. And it seemed like Kash Patel said no. Do you think that? What should we make of that exchange?
So the issues are President Trump pardoned folks who were nonviolent. He commuted the sentences of some folks who had pled guilty to or were convicted of violence against police officers on January 6th. And Kash disagreed with President Trump on the latter. I disagree with Kash on that. I think his comments were more geared towards the FBI and law enforcement personnel he's going to have to be working with in the next for the next 10 years if things go well for him. So I wouldn't read too much into it, but, my view is that whole process was compromised. Not one prosecution was honest, and even that there were folks who did something terribly wrong and should have been prosecuted, that prosecution was not in accord with due process and the fair administration law by the goons running the Biden Justice Department. And plus, many of them had been in jail for years anyway, so it wasn't like they hadn't been punished even morally for their misconduct here. So, to me, it was sometimes you get virtue signaling all around.
Tom, I thought a powerful moment for Kash Patel was that he said, I'm the ideal person to be the director of the FBI because I know full well what the FBI can do when they act politically and outside the confines of the Constitution to try to harm someone, to try to destroy somebody, because he was the victim of it. I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit if you could. And I think it was a very powerful point to make. And I think that there's, everyone's like, oh, he's just there for revenge. No, but he does represent. He's going to walk into that room, that building, as the new FBI director, and everyone who did him wrong is going to know that. And they know that they're not going to be able to get away with it anymore because he knows full well what they did and what they can do to any innocent American.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the wrong end of subpoenas by the FBI in their efforts to destroy Trump. He was harassed by the Jack Smith team for, as he points out, weeks, and the monies he spent probably were enormous to have to deal legally with that. So he knows full well what the FBI is capable of doing in terms of being abused and misused. He's dealing with Adam Schiff, a member of Congress who in the House gloried in the abuse of this agency to target his political opponents. And and that's one of the reasons I think the Democrats were kind of cautious in dealing with Patel, even though, the feel in the hearing was they were going through the motions. I don't know how it came across on TV, but everyone was just waiting for it to be over.
It looks like
knows, Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just saying the sense is it's a fait accompli. He's going to be confirmed, and so Democrats are basically doing they have to do a certain level of resistance for their base and for their rabid followers, but they know this is happening.
And the resistance, I think, even still was diminished because they know, he knows what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a time when the Democrats and Republicans both pushed for reforms in the FBI after the excesses of J. Edgar Hoover, and I would say outright blatant civil rights violations of J. Edgar Hoover. They both supported it because they were both victims of it. See, now only Republicans and Trump-aligned politicians are victims of it, so Democrats seem okay with the FBI being weaponized as long as it's weaponized against their opponents.
That's true, and the question is what to do about it. And you get a bipartisan consensus. It's clear that they don't want Kash to do too much. Senator Kennedy and Senator Tillis. Oh, don't go burn it down, Kash.
Right.
Well, frankly, what happened at the FBI makes me wonder whether the FBI can exist and continue to exist as a law enforcement entity. And and I only half jokingly say this, and probably less so than that, is should Kash Patel be the last FBI director? That's my approach on it in terms of what they've done. Let's not forget what they've done.
Yeah. I used to think that, Tom. I did. I used to think that the FBI, because they've had so much power and it's so it seems to be so politicized and corrupt that it can't be fixed. But I think Kash Patel is the last chance. I think Kash could go in there and he could fix it. If not, it's over. All right, we got to leave it there. Always great talking with you.
Thanks,
You're
Tom.
a good guy. Tom
You're
Fitton.
welcome, guys. Thank you.
We love us some Judicial Watch, judicialwatch.org, real oversight here in Washington.